Showing up on the first page of Google might not be the best for everyone.
Tuesday night Pokemon here at the Forge. I am your host on the left, John, joined by the handsome
Tom, and we are here for our normal Tuesday night Pokemon League. We have our players out there getting ready to go. We are playing in the post-rotation format with Temporal Forces legal tonight and the E-block of cards rotated out. So we'll be kind of a sneak peek of what we might see next weekend. I guess 2 weekends from now.
2 weekends from
in
now.
London at EUIC.
Right. Just a reminder, too, here at the Forge, every time we run the Forge stream here, we do have a discount code for you. You can come use that code here in store for 10% off anything you buy through next Monday. Hopefully next week we'll have another stream code for you as well. Down in the corner of the screen, you can see the code for tonight is post-rotation stream, celebrating the E-block being moved out. No more Battle VIP passes. With the post-rotation stream code, coming down to the Forge, get 10% off anything you could buy here at the store. And that's good for everything except for events. So again, I make the joke every week. If you want to spend $1 million here at the Forge, we would really appreciate that. We will give you $100,000 off.
Yeah.
So stick around. We'll be right back with our first matchup of the night. As I always say, you got time to get a snack. We will be right back.
Creating your first video? You should start with the music. Go to artlist.io and get high-quality music and sound effects for any type of video you want to create. For example, let's make it intense. Feeling sexy? Now, epic. Just maybe close the door before you start shooting. Get unlimited downloads, a license that fits all your creative needs, and perfect for every platform. Go to Artlist now and start creating without limits.
All right, welcome back to the Tuesday night stream here at the Forge. We have our round one matchup getting ready at the table for you guys. On the top, we have Brian playing that Chien-Pao Baxcalibur deck, and SJ on the bottom piloting the Turbo Iron Hands Future Box deck. Both of these decks are very strong contenders, it seems, in the Temporal Forces format. Both of them have been in the top 5 of Metashare and online tournaments, and both of them have been doing their fair share of winning as well.
I would like to point out, too, we are playing, apparently, according to the stream camera, on a ship on the ocean right now. We've changed some of the technology here at the Forge where the stream camera is now attached to the table, so the more aggressive they play, the more it looks like we're playing on the ocean.
Yeah, so hope you can bear with us there, but I'm sure it'll get a little better as these players get set up. I know John's going to go give them a little talking to, make sure that they are not wiggling that table around too much. But this matchup is very interesting. One of the things about Turbo Iron Hands is it's a very fast and aggressive deck, and Chien-Pao is a very setup-based deck. And so these fast and aggressive decks can run these setup-based decks off the board early in the game if those setup-based decks get a slow start. And so SJ here going to be looking to start very aggressively, knock out any Frigibacks or Bidoof, these low HP Pokemon that could be on Brian's side of the board, where Brian is going to be hoping to have a very good setup here with some Buddy Poffins, getting multiple Pokemon out, and drawing through his deck so that he can start taking big KOs on the second turn of the game before SJ has a chance to use that Iron Hands.
It's actually really nice seeing some of these players with those purple cards filtering through the deck now that they're legal. The A-Spec card's kind of the one thing you're looking for to make your deck function.
Yeah.
I know SJ, it looks like what would he be playing for an A-Spec?
SJ is probably playing the Prime Catcher. If not the Prime Catcher, it would be the Reboot Pod. But a lot of these future decks are moving towards playing that Prime Catcher just to have additional gusting.
All right, I did see what looked like a Prime Catcher in Brian's deck as well. Probably one of the best ways to do that canceling Cologne play that the Chen Pao player is always lusting after so much. Not necessarily the best attack in this, but going into decks like Charizard, other Chen Pao mirror matches, anything that's got 90 HP or less, so you can use the canceling Cologne to cancel out the mana fee after it's been brought up into the active with that Prime Catcher. It's a pretty devastating play to play around their mana fee and take 2 prizes at the same time. So I'd like to point out many of the cards, especially that Radiant Credential like we just mentioned, for Brian is weak to Electric.
Yeah.
So this Iron Hands is probably looking to take 2 prizes off of some of these smaller Pokemon if it can. And then the Iron Crowns, which you see currently in the active, doing 20 extra damage, and probably seeing some future booster capsules also boosting that damage. So what's the max you can hit with that? An extra 100 damage with Ampy Very Much, getting 220?
Yeah, Ampy Very Much can do 220 damage now if it's got a future booster capsule and 4 Iron Crown EXs in play. So you could technically amp you very much a Chen Pao EX for 3 prizes, which actually does come up a lot in the matchup, not necessarily doing 220 damage with the Iron Hands, but often the Iron Hands deck is using the new Miraidon's Accelerating Peak attack on the first turn of the game. Does 40 damage, and then you can accelerate 2 lightning energies from your discard pile or from your deck to one of your benched Pokemon, or to your benched Pokemon in any way you like. And so they get that initial damage onto the Chen Pao EX here with that Miraidon. If they can use that attack, then power up their Iron Hands with that attack, and then then they swing with the Iron Hands on the following turn on the Chen Pao to take 3 prizes. So that's one way to do it. Another scary thing in this matchup is if Chen Pao doesn't get a good board setup, which we did see that Brian did get a very good setup here in this game, because they do play the Prime Catcher and a heavy Arven count. All they need is an Iron Crown, a Miraidon, an Energy, and a Prime Catcher, and they can KO your only Frigibax in play. And with the heavy Arven count, that play actually isn't too hard to get off here. However, we are seeing SJ not going for the Miraidons here, which is scary to me, given that that is like your primary attacker on turn 1 of this matchup. And that might say to me that 2 copies of that Miraidon that SJ plays could be in the prize cards.
I did see him searching his deck with one of his few deck search card, the Techno Radar. You do have to discard 1, and then you can go find 2 future Pokemon, 2 basic future Pokemon from your deck. Hits the Electric Generator for 1 Iron Hands. Iron Hands does require 1 electric energy and then 3 colorless to use that amp you very much. What's the other attack for 160 damage for 1 lightning and 2 colorless?
The Arm Press can also do 160, and like you said, with the Iron Crowns boosting it and the future booster capsules, you can get that up to 260. SJ with these electric generators hits 1 energy off the first, whiffs the second generator, and without that Miraidon available to him, he's relying solely on those generators to accelerate energy into play. So it looks like we're going to not be seeing a turn 1 attack from SJ here, which puts Brian in a very favorable position in this matchup.
SJ could power up his bench with 1 more Iron Crown to get an extra 20 damage, but right now I think it's more beneficial to, actually going to free up a slot using the Iron Bundle's ability to gust something up. Looks like we're going to see a Bidoof. Now, can he get that Iron Crown with its 2 retreat cost out of the active is the question here. Has an emergency board to reduce the cost by 1, but he already used his attachment for turn. Yeah,
looks like no, and it's just going to be a pass over to Brian. Brian top decks that Mana Fee for turn, has Iron Hands in hand. Looks maybe like an Earthen Vessel, but what he's really looking for here is a way to find some more energies and that rare candy plus Baxcalibur to start being able to accelerate energies into play. We're seeing that Shivery Chill from the Chen Pao, allowing Brian to search his deck for 2 water energies and put them into his hand. Great way to thin your deck before you start drawing cards as you are looking for those Iridas, rare candies, Baxcaliburs, that sort of thing.
So with the Frigibax surviving that last turn, brought into the active, but now retreated back to the bench, it looks like Brian is just 1 Irida away from taking a big knockout on this Iron Crown. If you can find some energy recycling from that energy in the discard pile, I think we might make it a rule here on stream that you do have to play with glare resistant cards words, though, at the same time. Speaking of the stream, everyone who's joining us tonight, if you do come play at the Forge on the stream, you do get an extra pack for playing with us and letting us talk about your play. And then if you were to win, you do get an extra prize pack as well. So come on down to the Forge, even if you're just playing casually. Sometimes we can incentivize you a little bit to come bring your cool decks out.
Absolutely.
And Tom and I do this every Tuesday, just trying to chat Pokemon a little bit. So if you see us at any of the events, please let us know anything you'd like us to change or how we'd like to improve. And the best way you can come support the stream down here at the Forge is to use that code post-rotation stream in the next week. Again, 10% off anything you buy. If you're an MTG fan, they got plenty of cards for you, especially Murder at Karlov Manor. I think we're still trying to get rid of some of that stuff because Wizards sent them too much. All right, gonna see Pokestop get discarded with a Manaphy and an Ultra Ball. Gonna go get that Baxcalibur. Now the question is, does he have a rare candy in hand?
I do
looks like
see
he
a
does.
rare candy in hand, so that Baxcalibur coming down, and I'm trying to tell. I think that is Superior Energy Retrieval as well in hand. I thought it was an Earthen Vessel for a second, but it's the Superior Energy Retrieval. So Brian will have enough energies here to take this knockout on the Iron Crown. And for Chien-Pao in this matchup, if it's able to go up 2 prizes in this matchup, I think that Chien-Pao is favored from here on out. The one tough thing for the Turbo Hands deck is it is very fast and aggressive, but there's not a lot of comeback potential for it. I think one of the things that SJ will have to do to come out ahead in this matchup is to start playing a little craftily. These Turbo Hands decks do often play the counter catchers and a pretty hefty count of them as well. And if he can get one more energy onto that Iron Hands, he can at least knock out the Baxcalibur. So he could start targeting down Brian's Baxcaliburs and run him out of rare candies to be able to power up those or to evolve into those Baxcaliburs, which means his energy acceleration engine is offline, and then SJ can win the game from there. But SJ definitely on the back foot here with that knockout from the Chien-Pao EX on the Iron Crown EX. And moving over to SJ's turn, he promotes that Iron Hands into the active.
Right now, the board state for Brian isn't extremely fragile. He does have the Baxcalibur established, but right now, like you mentioned, SJ does probably want to take down the Baxcalibur with this Iron Hands. And Ampy very much can bring the prize trade even, and if Brian is not able to establish another Baxcalibur, then SJ can use that pace to sort of move ahead a little bit. So right now, he's really just one boss and maybe a little bit of good energy distribution to take out that Baxcalibur. The fact that he promoted that Iron Hands, though, means he cannot use the electric generators to accelerate energy to it, because electric generator is only to the bench, unfortunately. So whiffing one of those E-generators and then only hitting one on the other was sort of not the best for SJ, but sometimes that's just what the cards do.
Yeah. We see an Arven here from SJ for a Nest Ball and a Future Booster Energy Capsule. That Nest Ball finding him a Mew EX, which is some better draw power for this deck, and that Future Booster Energy Capsule, a tool that gives any of his future Pokemon free retreat plus 20 damage to any of their attacks.
I'd like to point out, have we seen a regular non-rare art card in SJ's deck yet?
I don't know if we have.
It could be player stamped, or it can be some sort of alternate art. I think that's what we're seeing.
Now, we do see that Miraidon now, I think, in hand from SJ, so I'm thinking it must have just been a mistake on that first turn to not come with that Miraidon early on, but we do see the Miraidon gusting up. Was it the Baxcalibur?
It looks like the Baxcalibur.
And then just a pass.
With I forgot the Future Booster Capsule does allow free retreat on that Iron Hand, so not a 4 retreat cost, a 0 retreat cost with that Booster Capsule.
However, the danger for SJ there is this deck really wants to keep those energy cards in play with the new Heavy Baton Tool card. Now that that's not attached to his Iron Hands, it means that he's going to continue having to rely on electric generators and this Miraidon to bring more energy into play. He's also in a tough position here because if Brian can get some good card draw going on his side of the field, he could find that Prime Catcher KO, that Iron Hands, and get rid of any energy in play on SJ's side of the board.
All right, Brian, the counter catcher bringing the Baxcalibur into the active, and then using some energy attachment with the Super Cold ability to retreat once again. And the question is, does he have any energy recovery? Could use a Super Rod to put some into the deck. I'm going to go Shivery Chill first, though. Does he have 2 water in there?
He's got at least 1. My guess is only the 1, though, and it looks like that's the case. Just 1 water energy in that deck off that Shivery Chill, but that is enough to start drawing with that Radiant Greninja. And if he could find a Bibarel or an Irida, I think that would be enough for him at this point to get at least an attack off on this turn.
You mentioned the Bibarel, Tom, because for me, when I see a Bidoof go down, I'm like, all right, it's fine. We've got time. But I think that's one of the things you need to target in the Chien Pao deck because it has really no other draw supporters except for that Radiant Greninja, and actually a great attacker that can go down fairly early in the game.
Yeah.
So I think you got to take out those Bidoofs when they start going down.
Yep.
If you can't take out the Excalibur, take out the Bidoof.
Absolutely. One of the weaknesses of the Chien Pao deck is if you do go second in a matchup, you have to get a lot of Pokemon into play to have a stable board state. You want to have 2 Bidoof, have 2 Frigibax down, and your Radiant Greninja. If you only get one of those pieces down, either 1 Frigibax or 1 Bidoof, your opponent can easily target them and really limit your ability to draw cards or accelerate energy into play.
Chien Pao can pull off some really awesome plays, but if you can't get the cards you need to do it,
Yeah.
if you can't get that Superior Energy Retrieval, if you can't get that Canceling Clone, row.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, gonna see Collapse Datum knocking the benches down to 4. Will limit SJ's damage output a little bit, but using that Miraidon to accelerate energy onto the Iron Hands is gonna put SJ in a good position here. Not gonna quite have enough damage to take out the Chien Pao in Brian's active. Oh, excuse me, it's still Brian's turn.
Yeah, it looks like Brian. Let's see if.
Is that a rare art, an SIR Chien Pao inactive?
Well, I thought he already used Shivery Chill.
Did SJ just...
Did SJ just draw a pass? No, SJ. We did move to SJ's turn. SJ played Professor's Research, attached energy to Iron Hands, and passed.
Oh,
It happened so quickly.
I
We
was
missed
just
it.
like, what's going on here? All right. Sometimes that is the heart of the cards. Going to use Concealed Card, see 2 more. Electric, and another Baxcalibur, it looks like. So right now with the Frigibax on the bench, which I think we have 2 Baxcaliburs on the bench.
Yeah, we have a Bidoof, a Frigibax, a Baxcalibur, and a Greninja on the
All
bench.
right.
One of the things to notice is Brian has yet to find an Irida this game, I believe, and he's drawn a lot of cards. Irida is really what he needs to find those superiors. You know, the odds of not finding Irida, that can happen, but to not find some of the cards that you'd also want to get off of Irida, along with not finding Irida, not finding those superiors, not finding that prime catcher, the odds of that start to diminish. So, Brian really does need to get a barrel in play to start drawing some more cards.
Not seeing an attack 3 turns in a row in the Pokemon TCG, that's the rarest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, and now he's giving SJ the time he needs to maybe make a comeback here. We see that Future Booster Energy Capsule and a Counter Catcher found off the Arven. That Counter Catcher, have to imagine, is going to be targeting down that Baxcalibur for a big amp very much for 2 prize cards.
All right, let's see if SJ agrees with you, Tom. SJ, a seasoned player here who used to be piloting Miraidon pre-rotation, did very well in Vancouver, but now post-rotation, it looks like this might be the deck of choice for SJ.
And this seems to be the deck of choice for old Miraidon players.
Everyone on the internet.
Also everyone on the internet.
There's the Heavy Baton. If that is attached to a Pokemon that has exactly a 4 retreat cost and energy from your active Pokemon is knocked out, you then can move that energy to a Pokemon in the way. Am I saying that right, Tom? It's so complicated.
The Heavy Baton?
Yes.
Heavy Baton, yes. So if your Pokemon that this card is attached to has 4 in its retreat cost and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack on your opponent's turn, you may move up to 3 energy from that Pokemon to your bench Pokemon in any way you like.
There
So
it is.
it's a great way for this deck to keep energies in play. And we see that Counter Catcher on the Frigibax and a KO from that Miraidon and using that peak acceleration attack, searching your deck for 2 energies and attaching them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like.
Pointing out too that the Miraidon's attack does 40 damage, but because he has an Iron Crown on the bench, that is doing 60 damage. So we're taking the knockout on the Frigibax just with that alone.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
And
Very-
the energy acceleration.
Very strong attack with that boost from the Iron Crowns, a boost from a Future Energy Capsule, potentially sometimes as well. And we see that Lightning and Psychic Energy getting accelerated from the deck to that other Iron Hands with the Heavy Baton attached.
All right, Brian right now needs to find that barrel just to get some more cards into his hand or cycling through them.
Yeah, and this is one of the tough things with Chien Pao. Sometimes your hand kind of gets clogged up with cards that aren't immediately useful. He does have another Frigibax in hand, and I would like to see that come down onto the board. We see that Prime Catcher is in the deck, but was at the bottom of the deck. Maybe eyeing up that Iron Hands as well from this Nest Ball. Iron Hands could take 2 prize cards on this Miraidon if Brian's able to find the superior energy retrieval needed to get the energies and get this Chien Pao out of the active position as well.
Indeed.
See a fail from that Nest Ball, however, which is interesting. But I think that he already has that Frigibax in hand that he wants to play. He has a Buddy Poffin as well, so maybe if he's eyeing up getting a second Bidoof or something like that, doesn't necessarily need it from the Nest Ball, but maybe just use the Nest Ball to get a quick look and see what is available to him in the deck.
If he does not decide to establish another Frigibax, that Baxcalibur will sort of be the linchpin of his deck functioning.
I guess we did see, sorry to interrupt, but there is a Collapse Stadium in play, so if he had gotten something off that Nest Ball, I hadn't noticed that he wouldn't have been able to bench that Frigibax in hand.
Chien Pao, I do believe he discarded his one of his Pokestops as well. So.
Yeah. Irida finally in the hand,
There it
though,
is.
for Brian.
Hello, Irida.
Irida can go find him that Prime Catcher if he wants to target down one of those Iron Hands, or it could just find him a superior energy retrieval to get more energy into play and start attacking. But we'll see what Brian is cooking up here for himself.
Underneath Brian's right wrist, by the way, is a Bidoof. Centered there, we have a Chien Pao, I believe, and then a Baxcalibur will be on the right side of the top bench over there, for those who can't see through the glare.
And I think it was a Chien Pao. I don't know what the item card was taken there off of that Irida. A little bit of glare on Brian's side of the board, unfortunately, but I believe the water Pokemon taken off that Irida was a second Chien Pao.
Be a great segue into, if you don't like your cards having glare, you can use the code post-rotation stream. Come down here and pick up some of the Dragon Shield no glare sleeves. They shuffle better than anything. Tom, I know you disagree. They are the best sleeves. Currently offered only in black, but what other colors do you need? Come get some glare-free sleeves down here at the Forge. All right, see what Brian chooses to do here. He does have to get that Frigibax out of the active.
Looks like I think Greninja is in the active,
Greninja,
but we
excuse
do
me.
see that superior energy retrieval coming down. The question is, what does Brian decide to do here? Because whatever he does, if it's not combined with a Prime Catcher KO on a 2-prizer, it feels pretty bad because he's about to get amped very much for 2 prizes.
It does have 4 energy in hand, so attach 2 to the Chien Pao. Using Baxcalibur's Super Cold ability, you can attach them however you would like. And then Chien Pao's ability discards from all of your Pokemon, your water Pokemon, and however you would like as well. So it is not necessarily the wrong thing to have some energy on your bench and some energy on the Chien Pao, just keep things in play. Going to go into the Chien Pao, though, and it looks like he's going to take a swing for 120 on this Miraidon.
Yeah, just an unfortunate time for Brian, not quite able to draw into the cards needed. Definitely wanted to find the superior energy retrieval or the Prime Catcher in another way. We haven't seen a Pokestop come down from Brian yet either. That's another great way for this deck to find item cards, but unfortunately not able to do it there. But the Chien Pao can take 2 on that Miraidon, or sorry, discard 2 energies to take a knockout on that Miraidon for 1 prize card. And we see SJ promote that Mew EX with the free retreat as he starts his turn.
I do have one of the Iron Hands just 1 attachment away from using Amp You very much. Does have the Chien Pao in the active, though, so he's not going to be able to hit those heights to take the 3 prize cards that everyone wants so badly to take off a 2 prize Pokemon.
Yeah, I think he can at least take 2 with the arm press on the Iron Hands that has the Future Booster Energy Capsule attached. That wouldn't be too bad, but he would probably rather take 2 on a Baxcalibur or something like that. But seeing an Iono come down here from SJ, and Brian might be happy about that. Brian's hand has been clogged up for a while.
If he can find a barrel in one of those 3 cards, slap that down, and then start seeing cards again, and it stumble into that Prime Catcher, that's actually going to be a benefit. I think Brian might have just grabbed 4 cards.
I think he did as well.
All right.
There we go. We're gonna
It is
fix
a friendly game
It's
tonight.
it's just League. If this was a League Challenge or a League Cup, maybe we'd have to fix that. But we're okay here.
All right, opting for the free retreat Mew, going into it looks like an Iron Hands. If he can get 1 more energy, he could potentially use a boss tactic. Lots of movement on SJ's board here going on.
SJ deciding to switch into that Iron Hands with the Future Booster Energy Capsule attached, and I believe we're going to see an arm press here for 2 prize cards on that Chien-Pao EX. So
you actually just saw SJ explain how he was taking the knockout too, because it's confusing because you've got so many moving pieces both on the bench from the Iron Crowns and the Future Booster Capsule, kind of like amplifying the damage. So you do have to stop and think about it a little bit before you take those prize cards.
Absolutely. So Brian here going to have to find a couple things. He's got the Chien-Pao. That's what he needs to take a knockout. He's got the Barrel in hand from that Iono. So Brian, much happier with this hand than his prior hand.
At the same time, too, he's got the Lost Vacuum. So if he wants to, he could take away that Heavy Baton if he does decide to take the KO on this Iron Hands, and then he will have an empty hand he can draw to 5 with the Barrel that he just placed down.
Yeah, I think got to play that Lost Vacuum here. At least send that Collapse Stadium, if not one of those tools, to the Lost Zone and thin your hand out a little bit more so you can draw more with that Barrel. We do see that Lost Vacuum coming down. And yeah, I think you're right. If you can get that Heavy Baton or the Future Booster Energy Capsule, something that just limits a little bit of what SJ is able to do. The only scary thing there, not getting rid of the Collapsed, is you do probably want another Bidoof down. However, you could draw into your own Pokestop to bump that Stadium, so don't need to use the Lost Vacuum.
Just not losing the Barrel is a strategy, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do see him draw into that Pokestop, so Pokestop, finally one of those cards that Brian has been looking for all game. One of the best ways to draw cards with this deck is to use your Stadium to discard them, and then if they're item cards, you get to draw them.
Perfect.
Sometimes it turns your Stadium into a draw 3.
I don't think he had the Prime Catcher in hand, so as long as he has not shuffled his deck, there's the shuffle. I was going to say he could definitely Pokestop into that Prime Catcher. I think it's one of the top 3 cards on the deck.
Yeah, well, we see that shuffle into the deck. However, he is going to put some energy back into the deck, which means he can retreat out of the Greninja, go into the Chien-Pao EX, use that Shivery Chill ability, get 2 more energies out of the deck into his hand. He also had a Superior Energy Retrieval in hand, so I think we are going to be seeing a 2-prize knockout here from Brian on this Iron Hands EX.
All right. Nice work, Brian. Is on odd prize cards for both our players, so it would have to be an amazing Amp You Very Much play or 2 more knockouts from both of them, which is possible for... Let's see, there's no way for Brian to use his Amp You Very Much to find the damage that he needs, but he can take a big knockout on this Iron Hands by getting rid of that Heavy Baton as well. Yeah. If SJ misses that last energy acceleration, does have 3 attached already, does have the requisite lightning energy as well, so SJ's in a good response position here. Will be a little bit short unless he can find the Iron Crown. I don't know if SJ can bump that Stadium, though, to get the final Iron Crown on his bench to take the knockout and hit that 220. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on if he has the Future Booster Energy Capsules remaining as well. It will be interesting. We're seeing Brian play that Irida here. I think he's going to get a second Excalibur online just to make sure in case SJ has any crazy Iono countercatcher plays on his other Excalibur. He's already got another one in play. So that takes that sort of strategy off the table for SJ. And with that, the Barrel established now, if he just puts the Pokestop in play and finds a way to bench another Chien-Pao, I think he has this game pretty much sealed up. But
this has been a great back and forth.
Yeah,
like we were kind of going both ways the entire time. I do not know how this is going to end. I think the Lost Vacuum was very clutch. Going to get some energy out of the discard pile with Superior Energy Retrieval. Superior Energy Retrieval in this deck also great if you have a Barrel established because you're getting rid of cards to then draw into more cards. You have to discard 2 to use Superior Energy Retrieval.
And Dead Maniac asking in the chat, did GLC run tonight? No, we did not get enough players for GLC, so just standard running tonight here at the Forge. But if you do enjoy playing GLC every Tuesday night, there is an opportunity for GLC, a side event sort of to our normal main event here. As long as we get 4 or more players to play GLC, we will run a GLC event here as well.
All right, going down to 1 prize card on Brian's side. He will have the ability to bump the Stadium with Town Store to go find the tool that he needs. Now the question is, can he get a Techno Radar and the energy established? Gonna whiff that generator too. He's only hit 1 energy off of his electric generator.
You know, the tough thing about this deck is the later you go into the game, your generators are just almost worthless because you've already brought so much energy out of your deck with the Miraidon that it's like there's no more energy in there for the generators to find. So SJ whiffing once again, unfortunately, but he does have...
Still could find it.
He still could find it. He's got enough energy on that Iron Hands as well to at least arm press and then force Brian to have a response. However, with Brian's board state, you'd have to think that it wouldn't be too hard for him to find that response. But we do see an Iono in hand from SJ off of that Pokegear, and going to be disrupting Brian down to 1 card in hand. If he can combine that with a counter catcher on the barrel, that could be game ending.
I would like to say too, if he can piece together the Iron Crowns with a future booster capsule, he could take the Chien-Pao knockout for 3 prizes right now, which would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, future booster capsule coming down from that town store.
All right,
town store bumping the Collapse Stadium out of play, which means 2 more Iron Crowns could come down onto the board.
So we are 1 Techno Radar and 1 energy attachment away from him taking 3 prizes.
Yeah.
He does have the energy in hand.
I believe he already attached for
he
turn.
did.
I think he needs to hit off of a generator. Yeah. Drawing a 3 here, has that Prime Catcher, Lightning Energy, and I'm not quite sure what that 3rd card was, but Prime Catcher would be very good here. He just Iono'd his opponent to 1. He can Prime Catcher that barrel, knock it out, and pray that there's not a response from Brian here.
Sometimes you Iono your opponent into energy retrieval.
Yeah, but he needs enough cards in hand to at least discard 2 with that energy retrieval.
A regular energy retrieval.
Yeah.
A regular flavor.
Regular
flavor.
yeah.
You never know. All right, you in that deck for both draw support and free retreat.
Did not see the Prime Catcher played. That might be, unfortunately, how SJ loses this game. I think if he Prime Catcher KOs the barrel there, I think SJ just wins off of an Iono to 1 against Chien-Pao. But we will see Radiant Greninja coming active. Brian has Heavy Ball, Water Energy in hand. I have to imagine that Water
Concealed
Energy
cards, baby.
Well, he can draw 5 with the barrel. He can just
true.
burn that Heavy Ball, attach energy for turn, or use the Baxcalibur, then draw 5. You have superior energy retrievals. You know you put the other Chien-Pao EX back in the deck the past turn with that Super Rod. So all he needs to hit is a Chien-Pao EX and a superior energy retrieval, and he's got 5 cards to do it with from that barrel, plus maybe an additional 2 more from the Greninja, and maybe an Irida. We'll see what Brian's able to put together on this turn.
All right, checking the discard profile, I'm assuming is how much energy he's got. Seeing him set it aside, that is loading the magazine, is what that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
While superior energy retrieval can get that lightning energy back, that's really only the deck for the 1 that's needed on the Iron Hands EX. Let's see the barrel for 2, 3, 4.
Can Brian hit it here? Let's see. He had that 1 Water Energy still in hand. So he could only draw 4 off of that barrel, but that Water Energy means that he can conceal cards. Benches the Chien-Pao, has the retreat from that Greninja with the Water Energy already attached. Did he find a superior energy retrieval? Has the Irida find it, and that should be game.
We were concerned that he wasn't seeing Iridas early enough.
He got him late.
Now he has exactly what he needs because he didn't use them early enough.
Absolutely. Well, a great game by both players. SJ had a tough time, I think, in that start of the game. Didn't really see an attack from him until turn 3 or 4, but Brian got kind of locked up with a tough hand in those turns as well, so he wasn't taking knockouts, and it turned into a very close game at the end there, which came down to what you were talking about earlier, that the barrel on the Chien-Pao side of the board coming in clutch for Brian. So
yeah. An awesome game to see this new Turbo Hands deck is what we're calling it. Didn't quite see the Heavy Baton get kicked into the active to really pull that energy back to the bench. That's how that really just moves back and forth with Iron Hands, Ambi very much, over and over again. But still cool to see these new cards coming out. Didn't see any A-Specs get used, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, no A-Specs to use on either side of the field. Brian never had it in hand. SJ did have it in hand, chose
Brian
not to
dodged
use
it the whole game.
Yeah, Brian never had it. But we also never saw Brian. I don't think we ever saw him use Pokestop that whole game, which is interesting for a Chien-Pao deck. He was kind of forced into situations where maybe it was the best card to discard for the superior energy retrieval, so he couldn't put it into play. But very well played by both players. We'll be back here just shortly with a winner's interview with Brian, and stay tuned for that. And then we'll be back with round 2 right after.
See you in a bit.
Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business. Sell it online, take it in person, and go big, like a million orders big. Whatever your stage, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up today at shopify.com/YouTube audio.
All right, welcome back to the Forge here for our Tuesday night Pokemon night. We are here with our winner from round 1, Brian. Brian, congratulations.
Thank you.
Ever since I've seen you playing Pokemon in Minnesota, I've been seeing you play Chien-Pao. Is that your favorite deck?
Well, I think it's the deck that I know how to somewhat play. That is a comfort pick, I guess.
Yeah.
And my son stopped playing it, so I picked it up, and
It's been working out well for you though. You've
okay.
always been doing well with it, and you were able to overcome, which is what is normally a very bad matchup in that Turbo Hands deck. They can get going pretty aggressively, but you were able to have a really good start on that first turn of the game, and then take those big knockouts with the Chien-Pao. You got kind of mucked up there in like the third or fourth turns with a hand that just wasn't doing much for you, and no barrel on board, but you were able to draw out of it. But no Iridas for the longest time.
yeah, that's the problem with the deck. It's tempting to maybe want to run Luminion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It seems like you can, attach water energy to it, attack with it, get it out of your, out of play basically.
Yeah.
Which seems like it would be a natural fit, but apparently other people say it's not. So
Bench space is certainly
Yeah,
tight in
yeah.
the Chien-Pao deck. Well,
Right.
thank
Better-
you for sitting down with us, and congratulations on that round 1 win, and good luck in the rest of your
all right,
rounds.
thanks a lot.
All right,
Appreciate
we'll be
it.
right back with round 2.
Welcome back, Tuesday night Pokemon fans. We are going into our second game of the night as I check out the window here. Tonight we will have Oscar, who is on Charizard, playing Noah, who's actually been featured on the stream a couple of times, playing a Lost Zone box. Lost Zone has actually gone through some pretty significant changes, losing Battle VIP Pass, a little bit of consistency lost for the Lost Zone, but still a force to be reckoned with. At the same time, Charizard lost Battle VIP Pass, but gained Buddy Poffin, which finds everything it would find with Battle VIP Pass anyway, except for the Rotom V, I would guess.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it'll be good to see these younger players. Oscar is a junior, Noah is a senior. We do try to feature one game between the juniors and the seniors every time that we play here at the Forge, just to show that most of the crowd here is adults, but we do have some really great younger players as well. So we're gonna head on over to the game here while they're getting all set. See Noah on top there. On the red side of the board is going to be playing a Lost Zone type box, while Oscar on the bottom with the black sleeves will be playing a Charizard deck. A Charizard, a favorite of the juniors and seniors players, just because it hits hard, it features Charizard, and it's just a fun deck to play. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm waiting for the start here. Tom, you've got your trip to the EUIC planned coming up here. What are you thinking about the meta?
It is a little confusing. Not really confusing. The question is still, what will the meta share be of some of these new decks and some of the old decks that are still good? And then figure out those matchup percentages still from what decks are good into other decks. Still trying to figure that out a little bit. One of the weird things in the meta then always lurking in the back of your mind is that stall deck, which is a deck that isn't run by a large percentage of the meta, but does have some auto wins into certain decks. Things like Charizard, if it's not teched for, is a really bad matchup for Charizard. Can be a very bad matchup for Chien-Pao EX as well if it's not teched for. And so you're kind of like juggling these things in the back of your mind, trying to decide what you want to lose to and what you're happy to have a very favored matchup into. Currently, myself, I'm really liking Chien Pao. We're currently thinking of the top 3 decks of the format being Charizard, Lugia, and Chien Pao. And from our testing so far, Chien Pao has a favored matchup into both Lugia and Charizard. One of the things I mentioned in that last round was one of the things we're struggling with Chien Pao right now is that it can have a slightly unfavored matchup to that Turbo Iron Hands deck. So we're trying to find a few ways that might be able to fix that matchup. One of the things is if you know you're going against it, theoretically right now we're trying to accumulate some data on whether or not you want to choose to go second as Chien Pao into that matchup, because there's so much that they want to do on their first turn, playing supporters to find electric generators and techno radars and using that Miraidon's attack to accelerate energy. And so you can disrupt their strategy a little bit while allowing yourself to play a supporter on your first turn, which means you should theoretically have a little bit better setup into that matchup. So juggling some different things right now. The one deck that I know I'm not playing to EUIC is Charizard, even though it is like the top deck of the meta. I don't like that it loses theoretically in our testing to the other 2 top decks of the meta, which is Lugia and Chien Pao, and then has historically that really bad stall matchup as well.
Well, as I always say, just don't play the decks that you're bad against and you'll do great.
Yeah, exactly. That is the key.
All right, thank you for your meta analysis. We're excited to see you come home with the win from EUIC.
That would be great. I will say that this feels like the most I've ever prepared for a tournament, so hopefully it will go well. Hopefully that preparation will be rewarded, but if not, we still have a cool trip to Europe.
You keep saying we here. You've got a testing group that you want to give a shout out to your podcast you guys are running?
Yeah, absolutely. So me, Max, Austin, Cody, Andy, Caleb, the list goes on, and I don't want to keep listing names because I know I've missed people already and don't want to miss more. But we have a good group of friends here in Minnesota that we do a lot of our testing with. And then Max and Austin and I run the Zero Lab podcast and YouTube channel covering, competitive Pokemon videos as well. So don't forget to check us out at the Zero Lab. And we may have some exciting news later this week with a 1K money match coming up, possibly being streamed here at the Forge on Friday night.
Do you mean $1,000, Tom?
I do mean $1,000.
$1,000 playing Pokemon cards.
Yeah, so we have 2 locals here who wanted to play a best of 7 $1,000 money match. So the winner will come away with $1,000. The loser will come away with a video about 3 hours long on our YouTube channel about how they lost $1,000.
All right. I'd also like to give a shout out to the real heroes of the Pokemon community. That is the spouses that put up with us doing this night after night. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my beautiful wife who has supported my son and I in the Pokemon community, and Tom, who's giving a quick shout out to the players there to give them the heads up. Tom's wife for putting up with him doing all his testing to EUIC. I do know Tom is headed to Italy with his wife afterwards. So getting the game started here, going to see a pretty good opening for both players. A Gouging Fire, not a common inclusion that we see in the Charizard list, but we've seen some of that interesting flair going into them. At the same time, too, a Mew EX start, not terrible for Noah as well, starting with a free Retreater and some draw support in the early stages of a Lost Zone deck isn't exactly terrible. So going into the deck here, going to see an Ultra Ball going down for Oscar. Oscar opting to get that Heat Tackle for 30 damage Charmander. Do need to get that established on your first turn just so you can rare candy that into a Charizard later and use that Infernal Rain ability to accelerate energy to your Pokemon any way you like. You could use that, though, to accelerate energy to that Gouging Fire. 260 damage.
Yeah.
But the catch there is, Gouging Fire, it can't attack until it leaves the active, which is something I haven't seen that much in the Pokemon TCG.
Yeah. The funny thing to note, too, here, unfortunately for Oscar, is a very rough starter facing down that Mew EX for him in this matchup, because that Mew EX copies your opponent's attacks, and he could, if Noah somehow was able to get to a turn 1 7 in the Lost Zone, he could Mirage Gate and take a KO on that Gouging Fire with the Mew EX. However, getting to that turn 1 7 in the Lost Zone is a little tougher these days, but you do have, we saw in Noah's list already, he does have that Forest Seal Stone. I imagine he's got at least 1 Lost Vacuum in there. So if he is able to get a couple of Comfies out, Lost Vacuum, Colress, that sort of thing. It's not impossible.
It's not unheard of, but
Yeah.
it's not impossible.
Yeah. He does have the stadium already in play as well, so Lost Vacuum. If he can find Lost Vacuum, that's 2 already immediately into the Lost Zone for Noah, but he's going to have to find at least probably a Buddy Puff, and he's going to have to use 3 Comfies as well to get to that 7 in the Lost Zone.
And that's why we see these Lost Zone decks be so successful, because once you start setting up the pieces, one of the pieces, the Comfey, sees you 2 cards. You might find a Colress, and the Colress you see 5 cards, and then you find your Lost Vacuum and a second Colress. These decks really, they may start with just 1 or 2 little catches, but once it catches, it just absolutely is off to the races, which is partially why Iono was introduced into the format, just to, you know what, you have 3 cards now. So
Unfortunately for Noah here, it's just that 1 flower selecting for a Super Rod to the Lost Zone and a pass back to Oscar. So Oscar has got some time here to establish his board a little bit here, and we see that Arven coming down from Oscar. Have to imagine that's going to find him a Buddy Poffin or a Rare Candy. Maybe already has a Rare Candy in hand, as he is eyeing up that Ultra Ball. Could get a Charizard EX into play on this turn.
all right, Arven allowing you to find an item card and a tool card. Very useful in this Charizard deck. Most of the Charizards choosing to run a Prime Catcher or a Maximum Belt, mostly for the Mirror Match or that Chien-Pao matchup that you said is more favored towards Chien-Pao. Maximum Belt allowing you to do 50 extra damage to your opponent's EX. Charizard only starts out doing 180 damage, which doesn't sound like a minimal amount, but it's not quite enough to knock out most of the EXs in the format. So that Maximum Belt tool attachment, which you can find with this Arven, can be very useful. Does opt for a Forest Seal Stone. Makes me wonder if he's going to go get the Luminion or the Rotom in his deck to attach it and then go find something that he needs. Gonna see an Ultra Ball away. Pidgeot EX, and what was the card underneath that one time?
Might have been
Rotom?
it's a V of some kind. I'm not quite sure. It could be the Luminion, maybe the Full Art Luminion.
All right. I believe it is, actually. Gonna opt for a Charizard. Gonna play down the Charizard with the Rare Candy and then go back into his deck to get that 3 Fire Energy.
Are we about to see a Gouging Fire
I think
attack
we're
here?
about to we're gonna see.
Maybe he has a Switch card in hand. One of those Fire Energies coming down onto the Charizard EX. Using that Artisan in tandem with
I was like,
the okay, I was curious. Yeah, so Artisan is in play, so you can search your deck for a basic Pokemon that does not have a rule box. So Oscar just kind of doing 2 actions at once there to save a little bit of time, using that Charizard's ability to accelerate Fire Energy into play, and then using that Artisan to get the Pidgey into play as well.
all right, let's see how we can get that Gouging Fire out of the active. Only opting to get 2 energy out of his deck.
And it looks like a pass over to his opponent there. Artisan going to find him a Comfey. And Noah is in a pretty good state here. One of the things he'd love to see is a way to knock out that Pidgey. One of the weaknesses of this Charizard Pidgeot deck is if you can keep them from having the Pidgeot, they don't have a lot of draw power. They're really reliant on that quick search ability from the Pidgeot EX. So if you can target that down early, it means that when you Roxanne them or they Iono you, it can hit them particularly hard.
And Charizard deck very powerful in the new Temporal Forces meta. A bit of a divide though. Is the Barrel a better choice to protect yourself against those Roxanne Iono plays, or is it the Pidgeot EX get the one card that you want every turn, a better one? I think we'll see that more shaken out in the Orlando and then the EUIC format. We see some flower selecting though. Do we opt for a Buddy Poffin, getting rid of 1 water energy, making it less likely that we'll see that Radiant Greninja? Not necessarily the best thing in the later parts of the game. That's the turn 3 Mirage Shuriken that you want to get out of that Mirage Gate. So opting to get rid of that Mirage Gate off of that flower selecting. Gonna get another Comfey though. Question is he gonna keep that Sableye?
Not get that Sableye with the Buddy Poffin,
Too
as
much
it has
health.
80 HP. You have to be 70 HP or less with the Buddy Poffin. One interesting thing that we've seen in these Lost Box decks is some are opting for that Ditto from Pokemon 151 that has the Transformative Start ability. Of course, you can only use it on your first turn and only if it's in the active position. But it does have 60 HP and is searchable with Buddy Poffin, and then you can turn it into whatever basic Pokemon that is in your deck that you like.
All right, Noah opted to get another Comfey with its flower selecting ability. Gonna attach Retreat. Now Noah does play a lot of energy recovery in this deck. Gonna opt to get rid of a Colress. I think he may have
He
drawn
must have
2
two
of
Colress, because we haven't seen him play a Colress yet, and you'd imagine That's what he's been digging for. So it must have been the flower selecting for 2 Colress there, which is
There it is.
always an unfortunate flower selecting.
At least you found one.
Now we do see that prime catcher for Noah here. Does he have a way to take a knockout on that Pidgey? I don't think he does. I haven't seen a way for him to get Cramorant down yet, but definitely that prime catcher is a card that he's going to want to save off of that Colress's experiment.
He will be 1 short of his Mirage Gates being fully operational. So he could theoretically, if he can get the Mirage Gate online with that Lost Vacuum, get the UX into the active, then Mirage Gate, and then copy the Gouging Fire attack, which would be a pretty cool thing to see on the stream tonight. The first time we're seeing these cards really being used in the correct format. One thing I like about Lost Box players is how often they go into their hand, into their deck, looking at their Lost Zone, looking at their Colress.
Got to make sure you're making the right decisions here.
And you don't get to find out until the end of the game if you did the right decisions too.
Absolutely.
Right. Give these Lost Box players a lot of credit. That is a huge mental drain playing that deck over and over and over again with these micro decisions. Really only the best players can play it well consistently for long periods of time. Must be why you're so good at it, Tom.
I haven't played it in a while and currently don't really intend to play it in this format, but I have enjoyed some flower selectings in my day.
All right, opting to keep a Water Energy and another Comfey. It's already attached return. Could use the Prime Catcher to get that Comfey up to get him to 7, but then he's going to have to find a way to get that Gouging Fire back up if that's the play he decides to go for.
Yeah, and just a pass over to Oscar. I know Noah is desperately hoping to find a way to get Radiant Greninja into play, seeing that there is no Manaphy down for Oscar yet, but with that Buddy Poffin, using that Artisan. Did he play Buddy Poffin from hand?
I believe he did.
Okay, so Buddy Poffin is going to find him in Charmander, and you'd have to imagine it, unless it's prized, that Manaphy will probably come down as well. If not, those little basic Pokemon with less than 100 HP are in danger of getting Moonlight Shuriken to buy that Radiant Greninja. Although sometimes it's easy to forget about that card when it's not in play. Usually that comes into play really early on in the game for Lost Box, but Noah has not been able to find it yet.
All right, going to see a pass with the Gouging Fire in the active. Does have a Mirage Gate and some energy in hand. Flower Selecting is going to put him at 7 in the Lost Zone. See what he opts to keep. Going to get rid of a Mirage Gate. I wonder what he's keeping. It's got to be a Colress.
Yeah, it's got to be something good.
Lost Vacuum.
It's a Lost Vacuum. Lost Vacuum can get him to 10 this turn. He's got that Sableye in hand. As long as he can find a way to find a Psychic Energy, that Charmander and the Pidgey are going to be going down to that Lost Mine attack. Artisan here, it looks like for a search of the deck, could find another basic Pokemon that does not have a Rule Box and put it into play. It looks like there was that Tempting Trap Mawile in there that he was eyeing up, but no reason to use that yet. Nothing that you can really trap in this matchup yet. And with the Gouging Fire, you have to assume that this Charizard probably plays at least one switch in the deck. It looks like there is a Mirage Gate already in hand as well for Noah, so as long as he can get to 10 here, he can Mirage Gate to power up that Sableye and use that Lost Mine attack to prizes.
I know most of our viewers know how the Lost Zone deck really functions, but the main function of this deck is you see a lot of cards, but it comes at the cost of putting the cards in a place called the Lost Zone from which they can never come back. And that's the stream of cards that Noah is building up kind of across the board state there a little bit. When Noah gets to a certain number of cards in the Lost Zone, namely 4, 7, and 10, different Pokemon have different abilities that come online and different trainer cards as well. So at 7, you see the Mirage Gate come online. And then at 10 cards in the Lost Zone, which is tough to reach in the game, you see Sableye is able to use its Lost Mine attack, which is top 3 worst attacks in my favorite attacks in the game. You can place 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. It is a way that these Lost Zone decks really function. They can spread damage, they can fix math, they can really set themselves up for success in a couple of turns, which makes it very challenging for the opponent to respond for, I've got 4 damage here, which puts me in range of this. I've got 6 damage here, so I'm in range of that. It really, really mucks up or throws a spanner in the works of the opposing decks.
Absolutely. They did gift us that Jirachi from Paradox Rift that does block that Lost Mine attack, and these Charizard decks normally play it, but Oscar with a little bit of a rough start here wasn't able to find that Jirachi, but you would imagine that he probably does play it in this list. But yeah, a tough start for Oscar, having to play that Arven to power up that Charizard, but then being stuck kind of drawing off the top of the deck and hoping to get into a Pidgeot EX here soon. And that Buddy Poffin coming down. Oscar not able to get out of that active position to use that Sableye, or maybe not able to get quite to 10. It looks like he might be at... Is he at 10?
He is at 10 and lost.
He is at 10, so choosing not to play the Prime Catcher yet, which is fair. That's a very powerful effect that you can really only use once per game, and just wasn't able to do it there. But Oscar able to get that Manaphy into play, so he is protected from a Radiant Greninja. However, Noah is going to be at 10 in the Lost Zone here, and he could use that Sableye Lost Mine to knock out the Pidgey and the Charmander.
All right, with 10 in the Lost Zone, there's no more milestones to clear for Noah. So a lot of times you see players just do that. They scoop up that Lost Zone, go into it if they need to.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna attach Retreat. Oh, excuse me.
Had not Flower Selecting yet, so just going to do that before we do that attach Retreat. And a little bit of a tough decision there on that Heavy Ball. Maybe there's an important basic Pokemon in those prize cards, but maybe he can take it off of these 2 prize cards he's about to take with this Sableye Lost Mine.
All right, opting to place all 12 damage counters on the Charizard. Now, there's not a Pokemon in Noah's deck that I'm aware of other than Roaring Moon that can just take a big one-hit KO on the Charizard. So with this Gouging Fire kind of locked in the active right now, he's able to just pick away at the board state of Oscar, which is a very intelligent move by Noah.
Yeah, and he knows his opponent has had a tough start here, so Noah knows he's got some time. His opponent has just been sort of draw passing, unfortunately. That's what we see here again. So Lost Mine going again, all 12 on to that Charizard.
Now, one thing to be aware of too, the more prizes Noah takes, the more powerful the Charizards get for Oscar. So if Oscar loses this Charizard and can find another one, that Charizard will be able to take out anything on the board set of Noah, and things can unravel really quickly if Noah's not careful.
Yeah.
So that Mew in the Mew on the bench is a 2-prize juicy treat for Charizard, hitting it for darkness, or hitting it for weakness, excuse me.
See a Flower Selecting here from Noah. That Boss's Orders trying to stall Noah a little bit, but unfortunately these Lost Zone decks do play a lot of switching cards, so wasn't able to trap that for long. And now Noah back into this Lost Mine, going to be able to take a knockout on that Charizard EX.
Indeed. A little bit of question there if that's what he's going to knock out. Looks like that's what he's opting for.
He's got a couple more damage counters to place as well. I think it's just my math has eluded me, but I think he has got 2 extra damage counters he can place. Chooses to put them on the Charmander, and now we see an Iono coming down from Oscar, going to be able to give Oscar a fresh hand of 6 cards, and that's what Oscar has desperately needed in this game, is just a way to draw more cards.
To give Noah credit too, he just caught that he forgot to take his prize cards and was about to Iono his hand into
That
his
would've been
deck
rough.
without the prize cards, which is unfortunately a game state that I do not believe can be recovered.
Now Noah drawing 4 off that Iono, and we'll see what Oscar was able to put together off that Iono. I see a Lost Vacuum in hand, kind of holding that hand as if there wasn't much that he found off that Iono. Definitely needs to find a rare candy and a switching effect to get that Gouging Fire out of the active position. A lot needed on Oscar's side of the board, and unfortunately that is the trouble that these Charizard decks can have. If you don't get that Pidgeot EX established early, you can get to the point where you're just praying for a good top deck.
Sometimes you just need to top deck the rare candy or the Pidgeot EX to get you the research to go back into the game.
Yeah.
Charizard really consistent if it can set up, very consistently setting up, but when it bricks, it's Gouging Fire in the active pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the same time, lost boxes. There is the Roaring Moon, able to take out this Gouging Fire if he opts to. I think right now it would be intelligent for Noah to just play around it and just take out that Pidgey, take out that Charmander, so that he can, keep Oscar's board state really nice and locked up. Oscar opting to put down that 2-prize liability, but the powerful ability of Instant Charge on the Rotom. That's one of the main turn 1 draw supporters for Charizard. Charizard doesn't typically attack first or second turn, going first on its first turn. So that Rotom lets you just see some extra cards. But right now, I think Oscar is just desperately looking to get some more cards going so we can get that Pidgeot EX established, so we can get that Charizard established.
Yeah. Unfortunately here, as long as Noah sees the play, he does have the knockout on both the Pidgey and the Charmander with that Lost Mine, which would put Oscar in a position of not really having an attacker for next turn. Only way to power up that Gouging Fire is to evolve a Charizard EX and use that Infernal Rain ability. Looks like he's targeting down that Manaphy, though. That also makes sense. That puts his Moonlight Shuriken back online from that Radiant Greninja. And Sableye doing 480 damage so far in this match.
I don't like Sableye. I respect Sableye, but
Yeah.
I don't like Sableye.
Yeah, it's fair. It is a devastating card for these evolution decks when they get a slow start.
All right, all 3 of the Mirage Kits still available. Not in the Lost Zone for Noah. Plenty of energy acceleration. You can definitely see another Lost Mine taking out that Pidgey, or right now he could. Unfortunately, he's bench locked himself, so he's not going to be able to necessarily take the knockout with Roaring Moon, but he could use Mew EX to copy the Gouging Fire to take out the Gouging Fire.
Yep. Just one more energy attachment needed on that Mew EX. And this is one of the tough things about having a Pokemon like Gouging Fire in the Charizard deck. It does put in a lot of work in certain matchups, especially against those Arceus decks, especially if they play the Alolan Vulpix. The Gouging Fire can be a very strong attacker into those matchups, but it's a chunky boy, and if you start it in your active, it can be pretty tough. It's a chunky boy, man. He can't retreat. He's not fleet-footed, you know?
All right, looks like Noah agrees with us, using Genome Hacking for 3 colorless to copy Gouging Fire's attack, doing 260 damage to a 240 HP basic Pokemon. A great game by Noah. We've seen him several times here on stream. Another interview with as well. Oscar, and also very skilled younger player, just kind of get caught up a little bit, but sometimes Charizard just sticks something in the
Nothing
active.
you can do about bad hands.
Nothing you can do about bad hands. So as I always say, you do have time to briefly run and get a snack. I will be back here real quick with an interview with Noah. Stick around. Welcome back, Tuesday Night Pokemon fans. I am here with the winner, Noah. Noah, you are a frequent guest here in the hot seat. You are probably one of the most skilled seniors we've got here. You got a new deck. It's a newer version of your older deck. How you feeling about it?
It's decent. The only issue is it's just not very consistent early game.
Yeah, we were talking about the loss of Battle VIP Pass helping you set up. Losing that has been a bit of a challenge, but you obviously know what you're doing. You've been kicking butt on stream here several weeks in a row now. Is there anything you're really excited about in the upcoming Temporal Forces kind of new meta?
Just all the new A specs. They all seem great. And Prime Catcher is just so good for the deck.
Do you have all of them? Do you have all the A specs?
Only Prime Catcher.
All right, the only one that matters right now, especially for your deck. Cool. Noah, congratulations on winning. Just a reminder, too, if you come down and play here on stream like Noah, you get a free prize pack for playing on stream. And don't forget to use the code post-rotation stream as well. Noah, is there anyone you want to say hi to while you got the hot seat all to yourself again?
Nope.
Very good. Stick around. We'll be right back for round 3. Nice job. Welcome back, Tuesday Night Pokemon fans. While we're setting up here for Game 3, Tom and I were just going to take a moment to talk about a new card that's come out. It's a tool card we haven't seen used. We've seen it put in the Lost Zone one time so far. It is the, drum roll please, emergency board. Excuse me, rescue board. That was the translation before the Japanese translation.
Yeah.
Right, Tom, what does this card do? Why is it
Rescue
cool?
board is cool because it gives your Pokemon one less retreat cost when it is attached to it, and if your Pokemon has 30 HP or less remaining, it has free retreat cost no matter how many retreat is in its in the bottom right corner of that card there. Rescue board then is very useful in Lost Zone decks where you have those comfies that you want to continually use in and out of. Rescue board gets you to be able to just use that comfy every time. It's always a free
Swapping things in
pivot.
and
In the past, you know, before Rescue Board came back out and after we lost Air Balloon, you're always having to use switch cards or attach retreat, which is just so sad. You'd rather be you'd rather be attaching to anything else than the comfy, but you know, you just had to do it. But now you have Rescue Board.
I'm going to make a mini meta prediction here because we've seen several cards in the meta now specifically mention 30 HP or less. We have Roaring Moon that does 200 damage to itself, leaving itself with 30 HP. We've got Bianca's Devotion, which is a new card that heals all damage off a Pokemon if it has 30 health remaining. And then we've got this new Rescue Board. I think with that and Buddy Poffin, they're building around these stage 2 decks that will do a lot of damage to themselves. We've got Serena EX that places the damage down to 30 damage counters.
That's where I agree with you. I think there could be something coming that has something to do with 30 HP.
Something's built around that.
It's either that or Pokemon thought Serena EX was going to be way better than it is.
And the print was already done.
Yeah,
They'd already said everything. All right, fair enough. So Tom agrees with me that Pokemon thought there was going to be a big deal around 30 HP.
There could still be. I agree with you on both counts.
All right, I'm also predicting, and I've been predicting this for about a month now, that Battle Compressor will be one of the A-Spec cards for the fall season, and we will see Lugia
the rise of Lugia.
run amok.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once again.
If they could, honestly, like everybody who's been testing Lugia has been saying, if this deck just had the A-Spec of Battle Compressor,
just give me Quick Ball back. Just give me Quick Ball back.
The funny thing is, if they did that, Lugia would probably become a 4 Arven deck.
Okay, because Arven, you'd go get, what tools do you need? You just need an item.
You could play Bravery Charms.
For fun?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be a 4 Arven deck, but because you have the Luminion, but you'd be playing Arvens at least to go search out for that Battle Compressor.
Yeah, so if you had Luminion to get the Arven, which is just P&E but worse.
Yeah.
So, okay, fair enough. You heard it here first. We are predicting Battle Compressor in the fall set.
They're going to call it something else, though. It's going to be like Hyper Battle Compressor.
Indeed, and it will be the most insane artwork you've ever seen.
And
then we can play our old Battle Compressors.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
No. Because it has to say A-Spec.
All right, jumping in. Tom and I have no idea what we're walking into.
I believe
Turbo
Oscar
Hands?
is playing Turbo Hands and Wyatt is playing Chien Pao. So,
all right,
a rematch per se of our round 1 match. However, Wyatt is playing an interesting list of Chien Pao. I was asking him before the break what his list was looking like. Obviously, Chien Pao is one of my top picks for EUIC, so trying to get all the information I can from people who are playing the deck and trying to get some good ideas. And unfortunately, I didn't get any of those from Wyatt. No, just kidding. Wyatt is playing a 1/1 Palkia V-Star in the Chien Pao deck
for the acceleration.
For the acceleration, and however, at the sacrifice of only playing 2 Buddy Poffins. I'm not sure that's worth it, but we will see what Wyatt can do in this matchup. The funny thing is the Palkia is a very good attacker into basic EX decks. However, into this specific basic EX deck, it is not, because it is weak to lightning, and those Iron Hands are going to take 3 prizes.
They are indeed. I will say Oscar's got a pretty good start. He has the Techno Radar to get his bench established. He started with the Energy Acceleration Miraidon in the active. He's got a little bit more energy in his hand than he would like to see with those energy generators, electric generators, excuse me. But we're going to see Wyatt establishing his bench, getting a Frigibax and a Bidoof down, so next turn he'll be able to rare candy one or both of those into something cool.
Wyatt not punished at all for playing only 2 Buddy Buddy Poffin, finds it on the first turn of the game, gets that Frigibax and that Bidoof down. And this Nest Ball, I would imagine, is going to go find that Radiant Greninja.
That actually brings me into a great point. If you do come play on the stream here at the Forge, you do get streamer luck. That is a real thing that happens. Sometimes you just get all the cards you need to donk your opponent.
The Oscar from last round wasn't feeling that streamer luck, though.
That's because he wasn't playing on stream, Tom.
No, Oscar.
Oh, other Oscar. Sorry, we have 2 Oscars.
Yeah, we have 2 Oscars here. Yeah, but a great start here from Wyatt. Going to use that concealed cards. Discard a Water Energy, draw 2 cards, and Heavy Ball going to go find him a basic Pokemon from his prize cards. Looks like no basic Pokemon prized, but however, I did just get a quick look at those prize cards. Looks like nothing too important for this matchup is prized.
Does he play 1 or 2 or 3 Blue Barrels?
I believe he plays 2.
All right, so there is 1 prize, so you still can go get that 1. Did get a quick peek at his prize cards. One of the nice things about Hisui and Heavy Ball is you don't have to pay attention to your deck.
Yeah, great top deck there from Oscar. Did not have a supporter in hand to start the game, but he did top deck that Arven. Arven can go find him a tool card, which is great, but also finds him a electric generator to get a little bit more energies in play. He already has plenty of Ball Search in that hand with the Nest Ball and the Techno Radar, and the energy already to attach this Accelerating Peak Miraidon. Just needs to go find those Iron Hands and those Iron Crowns with that Nest Ball and that Techno Radar.
Now, I'm not questioning necessarily his decision here, but if I were him, I may have gotten those Iron Crowns just so that my Iron Hands was doing more damage.
Yeah, and I think he did grab 2 crowns and a hands off of that. The glare is a little hard. I could be wrong, but I think off of Nest Ball and Techno Radar, he got 2 crowns in 1 hand. Hard to tell. I'm not sure.
We can't see it as well as you can see it, chat. All right, gonna opt for another Techno Radar though and a Heavy Baton. If he's got the energy in hand that he's willing to get rid of, he can go fill up his bench with all of the Iron Crowns his bench can possibly handle. And that would give him the 220 he needs to take a 3 prize knockout on a Chien-Pao.
Yeah.
Just short of the Iron Hands in Wyatt's active though.
Oscar trying to decide what to grab here. I think the eyeing up the Techno Radar, but could go for an electric generator. And choosing to go for the Techno Radar here gets his board completely established. And he may have a little bit of time. Wyatt didn't have a bad start, but starting that Iron Hands in the active is actually very annoying because you either have to attack with it or get 4 energies onto it to retreat it. And both of those things are pretty hard on turn 2 of the game.
I have a question. Can Palkia's V-Star ability accelerate energy to the Iron Hands?
It can only accelerate to water Pokemon.
All right.
Yeah.
So he does need to get that Baxcalibur established with 3 water energy in hand and then find that lightning energy as well to attach it to use the Ampu very much.
2 more Iron Crowns coming down here from Oscar. So now I'm not sure. Does he have 4 Iron Crowns in play and 1 hands, or is it 3 Iron Crowns and 2 hands? I can't tell.
If only we had a window we could go look out.
I can go look.
All right, gonna see an attach, a Future Booster Capsule, and an energy and an attack for, looks like 120 damage on the Miraidon. That is the power of the Iron Crowns. Now, if the attack does 40 and he has a Booster Capsule and you did 120 damage, how many Iron Crowns do you have?
I
Carry the
left
2.
grade school a long time ago, and I don't do what are those types of math problems called?
They're called word
Word problems, yeah. Don't do those anymore. I have Excel for that. But Oscar does have 3 crowns in play and 2 hands. So
Correct.
Wyatt playing
That was the correct answer.
Wyatt playing that switch card, playing a 1-of switch in this deck, going to be able to switch out of that Iron Hands into the Radiant Greninja. However, just in a tough position here, did get the barrel to draw some more cards, but can he find the Iridas? Can he find the things he needs to get a meaningful attack off this turn?
Did see a rare candy in hand, so we could find a way to find the Baxcalibur. He can level that up. Baxcalibur, not a bad attacker on its own. 160 damage for 3 energy.
Yeah.
So not
130 damage.
130, excuse me. But the main reason that's in the deck is that super cold ability. You can attach water energy to your Pokemon in any way you'd like, as often as you want from your hand. So that's Chien-Pao's kind of the key to making that deck work. The energy acceleration there, really the factor that makes it so powerful. So Radiant Greninja in the active, gonna Nest Ball, probably establishing another Bidoof would be my guess. Potentially getting a Chien-Pao, but that does put a True Price liability on the bench. haven't seen a retreat yet for Wyatt either, so we could attach retreat from that Radiant Greninja if you can get the Chin Pow into active to take the knockout.
Mhm.
I do believe, though, that Oscar next turn... Oh, there you go, Tom.
There's the
Opting for the
Palkia.
Palkia.
Very risky in this matchup given the lightning weakness on that Palkia. However, it does get more energies into play, and it is going to at least take 2 prizes for Wyatt. So, you know, keeping in line with that 2-2 prize trade that Wyatt is going to be looking for in this match.
All right, it looks like Oscar, his hand a little bit slim, not able to use that Techno Radar because his bench is full. He could attach that energy and retreat from the Miraidon, or choosing to attack it will be just a little bit short.
Yeah, but happy to get more energies in play, thinning out that deck of energy cards as well, which means his top decks are getting better. 120 damage coming down onto that Radiant Greninja, and we'll see what Wyatt's able to put together on this turn.
Now, if Wyatt can get a Chen Pao down, boss up the Iron Hands, and take it out, it's going to give him a little bit of breathing room.
Yep.
The question is, those are a lot. The thing is, that's a lot of pieces he needs to assemble in that puzzle.
The other thing that would be nice is just to get an Iron Hands KO on this Miraidon to take 2 prizes, and then go into the Chien Pao to take out the Iron Hands. But we'll see here what Wyatt is able to do. He can't actually bench a Chien Pao at this point either, because he would be left with a lone Baxcalibur, which is a great way to lose this Chien Pao, is if you ever get your board to only 1 Baxcalibur in play.
Yeah, at the same, that's actually a good point, because if you were to take out that Iron Hands because of that heavy baton, that energy is just going to slide over to that other Iron Hands. I do not believe he plays a Lost Vacuum as well to pull that off the board. Could I be wrong? I hope I'm wrong.
I'm not seeing one immediately in the deck, and given some of the things in the deck list already, that Palkia, that switch card, I would imagine that there's not a whole lot of room left.
All right, maybe leaving that bench spot open, using the Buddy Buddy Poffin to go into the deck and just see kind of what his resources are looking like. Opting for another Frigiback, so agreeing with you, Tom, that Baxcalibur should not be alone.
Looks like maybe no meaningful attack from Wyatt on this turn, which is giving Oscar plenty of time to get this Iron Hands deck set up and ready to start taking 2 to 3 prizes every turn.
All right, well, there is still the variable of the Prime Catcher on Wyatt's side as well. He can maybe rearrange the board a little bit, slowing down Oscar even further. I think we're just going to see potentially a pass from Wyatt. I don't know necessarily how he would attack. He could use Moonlight Shuriken if he has the energy in hand, but it's not going to necessarily do a whole lot of good. I think Wyatt might disagree, though. Or is this Palkia's V-Star ability? I haven't seen the V-Star
A
marker.
superior energy retrieval
There
came
it is.
down from Wyatt to get those 4 energies back to his hand. So
No, it's actually pointing out too that the Palkia V-Star has 260 damage going down at this point, so if he's able to get up that Iron Hands, he could take it out, but the energy would still be sliding around because of that heavy baton.
we're going to see a Moonlight Shuriken here from Wyatt. Would imagine both of those 90 damage coming down onto the Iron Hands. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what that math sets up for Wyatt, but you kind of feel like you have to attack when you can attack. But 140 damage or 140 HP remaining on each of those Iron Hands means they're out of range of Baxcalibur's attack. They're out of range of another Radiant Greninja attack. They're still out of range of an Ampu very much. And so you can still really only KO them with the Chien Pao. And John pointing out here that top deck for Oscar is very, very good.
Wow.
That Professor's Research going to be able to discard the hand and draw 7 cards.
That's like the ultimate top deck if you've got 2 cards you can use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe find some electric generators. There's at least one of them.
Gift Energy, very good as well.
An EXP share. What
Yeah.
did he not find?
Well, yeah, Gift Energies and Counter Catchers, I believe is what those were.
All right, with enough energy on the board, let's see if Oscar's going to go risk it for some electric generator, attempting to do some acceleration here.
I think I think he's just happy to accelerate
He's
his
just
peak again,
happy.
just get more energy into play, knock out this Radiant Greninja, and go from there. If Wyatt takes 2 prizes on the following turn, those counter catchers in Oscar's hand are live, and he can start chasing down those barrels, that Iron Hands for 3, that sort of thing.
The counter catcher, for those not aware, it is essentially a gust effect, but it only works if you're behind on prizes. So an extremely powerful card, but only if you're losing a little bit.
Yeah.
Handful of supporters.
Yeah, it doesn't need to top deck a supporter next
Nope,
turn.
we're good. Oscar right now debating whether to develop his board state or just take this single prize knockout on the Radiant Greninja. It would free up a bench spot for Wyatt, so it's not the worst thing in the world.
Playing
Well-
that electric generator, can he hit a lightning energy off that top 5? No,
Oh,
it is a
boy.
whiff. But still, I think Oscar in a good position here. Seeing that Iono in hand and knowing he'll only take 1 prize card here, it actually is kind of an interesting strategy as the Turbo Hands player to hope you go down in prize cards, because then he can hit Wyatt with that Iono counter catcher play for 2 on the barrel, which is a very strong play in this matchup. And we're seeing a knockout. Okay, so we did see the Ampy very much on the Radiant Greninja, and then Wyatt promoting that Frigibax to start his next turn.
Frigibax does have 1 retreat cost, so not a big deal to super cold that. Gonna see Irida come down and get an item card and a water Pokemon. I'm willing to bet we're gonna see a Prime Catcher play here with a Palkia V-Star taking the knockout.
So eyeing up that Champao EX as well, but I wouldn't hate. With this heavy baton on the Iron Hands, if he does Prime Catcher KO one of the Iron Crowns, it means that the Arm Press can't return KO the Champao EX. So that is an interesting play where you can say, I'm going to take 2 prize cards here, and as long as Oscar doesn't have a gusting effect, he probably can't take 2 prizes back. A risky play, but I think Wyatt's kind of in this position now where he needs to make some risky plays like that.
All right. And that also limiting the damage, like you said, and if you can do that maybe 1 more subsequent time, he's going to be up on prize cards, and the damage won't be there to 1-hit KO the Champao with the Iron Hands. I mean, does Oscar even play any psychic energy to attack with the Iron Crown?
I don't believe so.
So a great delay if you just bring 1 up and pass.
Problem is he does have those future booster
That
energy
is a good
capsules,
point.
which gives everything that has future on the card free retreat. But seeing a potentially pretty good barrel there for Wyatt, I believe there were some superior energy retrievals in that hand. Looks like a superior energy retrieval. It's going to get 4 energy onto that Champao EX and 1 to the Frigibax to retreat it. And that math setup actually from the Radiant Greninja now does matter. Only 3 energy needed to KO it from this Champao's attack. However, Oscar has a very good hand to follow up from this. Going to be able to, with those counter catchers, going to be able to either choose to take 3 prizes on the Palkia or do an Iono counter catcher play on the Barrel or the Omnibax Caliber in play as well.
We might actually see a Champao go down for 3 prizes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Who knew when Iron Hands came out in the Paradox Rift format that it would be taking big knockouts on fellow basic
We thought
EXs.
Amp You Very Much for 120 was enough.
That was it. Was everyone was so concerned it was going to be so broken. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, Lugia's going to run and it's going to be terrible. But not actually. Maybe the Pokemon Company knows what they're doing.
We are seeing heavy baton here for Oscar, though. Triggering on that Iron Hands EX as it gets knocked out can move 3 energy attached to it to the bench Pokemon in any way it likes after getting knocked out from an opposing Pokemon's attack. And that Miraidon going to come up, and I think I see the plan developing for Oscar here. He's got those counter catchers, so if he can take 1 prize here on that Frigibax with the Miraidon in the active spot here, he can then follow that up with a 3 prize turn on that Iron Hands or the Palkia V-Star.
Does he have a Techno Radar in hand?
I don't believe he has a Techno Radar in hand, but he's got the counter catchers.
Because Iron Hands 120, Future Booster Capsule 140, and then 60 more from the Iron Crown. Does he need 1 more Iron Crown to do it?
To do the
220?
on the Champao,
Yes.
yes, but he doesn't need to do the 220 here, I don't think. I think he can just take a knockout on the Frigibax and still have his counter catchers be active.
Oh,
and then
bring the
counter
Palkia
catcher
up.
KO the Palkia with Iron Hands for 3 prize cards for the end of the game.
Palkia being weak to electric here, the liability you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that to me. All right, Oscar looks like setting that up.
Do you
a
see
little
that
bit.
fourth Iron Crown in hand
Ooh.
though? So a 220 amp you very much could be on the way.
All right, Town Store gonna allow him to go find any tool card he would like. Probably gonna get that future booster capsule. Oh, opting for a heavy baton for some backup in the future. Would have to be attached to the Iron Hands with limit its damage output versus the future booster capsule. Future booster capsule giving free retreat and doing 20 extra damage. Techno Radar. Don't know if he needs another electric generator with that heavy baton. Gonna opt to get rid of the future booster capsule though. Are we just rooting for 3 prizes?
I think you have to root for the big 3 prizes. You know, people can say that Iron Hands is toxic as much as they want, but nobody's not going to be feeling a thrill when they see an Ampy very much for 3 prize cards.
With VMAXs sort of flowing out of the format here, I think Kyurem VMAX is one of the few remaining ones, but that's a weak to metal. Not a lot of 3 prizes, so
Yeah.
you could take 4 prizes on. So, all right, Oscar opting. No retreat cost on the active. Looks like he's just gonna slap that E generator down, see what happens. Deck's getting pretty thin, so there's got to be something in there for him. Can we see the 4th whiff in a row for the night? We do not. That's 2 lightning energy attached for the entire night across all the electric generators. Cannot put that on the Iron Hands. All right, plenty of tools in hand. Not
Another
so-
electric generator. All right, here we go.
Come on, Oscar. Hey, look, another one.
There it is.
So now having its 160 HP, 160 damage attack online, some extra damage from the Iron Crowns as well. So that could also take a knockout on the Palkia, but not doing that 3 prizes that we're sort of rooting for a little bit. Now, does Oscar have the counter catcher in hand? Oh, opting just to take.
Going to take the 2 prize cards with the arm press to knock out that Champao. And but the thing is that Oscar does have the other Iron Hands already set up on his bench. He's got the heavy baton even on the active Iron Hands. So some of that energy is going to come off and go back to his bench and be conserved in play. So really the only question is, can Oscar find a gusting effect on the following turn if he needs it to take the last 2 prize cards of the game? And I think the odds are high, given that he has that gift energy attached to the active Iron Hands here. That gift energy, when a Pokemon is knocked out with gift energy attached to it, you draw until you have 7 cards in hand before you start your next turn.
The pieces that Wyatt needs to assemble here is a Chien-Pao to take a knockout on something that will not receive energy. It's going to be tough because of that heavy baton.
Once again, a KO on one of the Iron Crown EXs here could limit the damage of that Iron Hands, meaning that the Arm Press does not one-hit KO the Champao EX.
But if he does have the gust effect, the Palkia comes up and that's
Yep,
it.
it's not going to matter as if Oscar is able to find that gusting effect.
It is tough when you're playing into a game where the only thing the opponent needs is a boss's orders and their deck has less than 8 cards left and you know that one of them is a boss.
And
So
Champao is not a deck known for disrupting its opponent's hand.
maybe Chien-Pao should play a Block Snorlax. There you go.
Everything should
You
just
heard-
play one Block Snorlax. Every deck.
When you need it, you need it. All right, opting to go into the Chien-Pao. I don't know if he has enough energy in his deck to use Shivery Chill. Looks like we're going to get a superior energy retrieval to get those 4 energy out of the discard pile. 4 will be enough to take out the Iron Hands in the active. Chien-Pao's attack, Hail Blade doing 60 for each energy discarded from your Pokemon, water Pokemon. Oh, there is 2 left in there. I think Wyatt's just showing off here a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do it. Do you think Champao would be a better deck if they just made Baxcalibur a stage 1 Pokemon?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think it would be way better.
I think that would be
I think it would be
nice.
borderline unfair.
I mean,
Why not just make it a basic while you're at it?
I mean, why not?
Right. Why not make it have 500 health?
I do think that if they give us a good Baxcalibur EX, that would be super sick.
I think that would be very cool. I am actually still rooting for your theory of Dunsparce turning into Dunsparce turning into Dunsparce is actually a dragon. Would be very cool. If Magikarp can do it, Dunsparce. can do it.
Dunsparce can do it. And we see that Pokestop, a very good Pokestop
Wow.
from Wyatt, and that's one of the things we talked about earlier on. Pokestop can just draw 3 cards in these decks that play so many item cards. 3 item cards discarded there from the Pokestop, meaning they all go right into Wyatt's hand. And they were pretty good ones, that Superior Energy Retrieval and the Prime Catcher as well.
All right, so Wyatt right now with plenty of options. Some of them okay, some of them not the best. With that Palkia on the bench with its weak to electric, any damage from any of the Iron Hands is going to take 2 prizes off it, which will conclude the game for Oscar. Seeing a lot of energy.
Wyatt using that V-Star power to discard all of the water energy from that Chien-Pao. I think Wyatt might be trolling a little bit here, knowing that his chances are a bit slim. In fact, not only slim, but I think impossible here. I think Arm Press is taking the knockout on this Chien-Pao.
You could have a catastrophic game mistake from your opponent, but it looks like Oscar is going to take the final 2 prizes with the Arm Press. Tom, we were hoping for 3 prize knockouts, but Oscar obviously playing it a little bit safe. To give him credit. Oscar's a great player. Wyatt also a great player. It's fun to see those guys play in the similar versions we were seeing earlier with that Palkia V-Star, though. Kind of a nice flavor.
I would have liked to see a little bit of BMing from Oscar there. Maybe hit the Pokestop on that last turn to see if you can hit your own Prime Catcher.
Okay.
And then you can Prime Catcher, take the 3 prizes on the Palkia for game. That would have been nice to see. But we saw 2 matchups tonight between these 2 decks. One of those matchups, Chien-Pao came out on top. The other time, Iron Hands was able to take the win, showing that matchup can be very close.
Yeah, a really big, bulky Pokemon that normally has a hard time getting energy accelerated to it, built in this new deck format with Temporal Forces here, doing cool things. We've been playing an enormous amount of it online.
Yeah.
It's getting a little old to be constantly running into it online.
Yeah.
We will be right back with the final winner of View of the Night. Want to remind all of our viewers that if you come into the Forge to use the code POST-ROTATION-STREAM, you do get 10% off everything. That is the best way to support us here at the stream. We love doing this for you guys. Keep the fun rolling here by coming to the store using the post-rotation stream code. You're going to get 10% off everything. We'll be right back with a winner's interview with Oscar. Stick around. Welcome back, Tuesday Night Pokemon fans. I interrupted you. I'm so sorry, Tom.
No,
Go ahead.
you're good.
Go ahead.
I just almost knocked over the table too. Welcome back to Tuesday Night Pokemon. We are here to say goodnight to you. Basically, that was the end of our tournament tonight, but we thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to check us out every Tuesday here at The Forge. We're bringing you the Pokemon League Night streamed right here on The Forge YouTube channel. We also have that discount code for you. If you want to come into The Forge, use that discount code, get you 10% off your entire purchase in the store. It doesn't count towards events, but any sleeves, packs, singles, anything that you purchase, you'll get 10% off here at The Forge using that discount code post-rotation stream. So come on down to The Forge, use that discount code, help support the stream, and that means that we get to keep bringing the stream to you every week here, every Tuesday, bringing you the latest action from the Pokemon card trading card game.
Yeah, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday. Tom, you will be traveling.
I will be traveling. Next Tuesday, I leave for London, and I'm very excited, very nervous, but it's going to be a great time.
Hopefully you come back really famous.
Tim, not Tom, but Tim will be here filling in for me for the 3 weeks that I will be gone. I'm not only going to UIC, but I will also be traveling abroad after that. So Tim will be here for me for the next couple of weeks, joined by John as always. So stay tuned for that.
All right, everyone, you have a good night. We will see you in a week.